UFC 325 is in the books, and it was a pretty crazy card, everything considered. So I'm gonna break it down and give you my reaction and recap of the card. First up, opening up the Road to UFC finale for the early prelims, we had Lawrence Liu versus Sulan Gronbo. This was a pretty fun and entertaining fight, but Lawrence Liu clearly won rounds 2 and 3. I give Sulan Gronbo round 1. He landed a massive, massive uppercut and hurt Lawrence Liu pretty bad, but Lawrence Liu stayed in there, was very tough. He landed an uppercut or an overhand right back, and he hurt Sulon Grombo. And then it was just the pressure and the pace. He started to take over as the fight went on, and he started to dominate, especially in round 3. Sulon Grombo has some very, very fast hands, and he's only 20 years old, so I think he's going to be just fine. But Lawrence Liu is the newest UFC bantamweight added to the roster. Very fun fight to watch. Next up, we had Kichiro Nakamura versus Sebastian Salasale. I think Nakamura needs to go back to the regional scene. I know he won this fight with a disgusting third round KO. Front knee up the middle, lands right on Sebastian's chin, knocks him out cold. Up until that point, into like round 3, Nakamura was getting cooked on the feet. Cooked on the feet. Genuinely. Sebastian Sazale was running game on Kichiro Nakamura for the entirety of the first 2 rounds and like the first like minute of round 3. Genuinely, genuinely. I don't know if Nakamura is ready for the UFC. He has the power for it, but I don't know if he's technically ready. He had to pull that one out of his ass to get that. And Sebastian Sazale is probably going to go back to the regional scene, win a couple more. He'll be right there in the UFC. That man's good, but he's inexperienced. We saw this happen similar to the Charles Johnson versus what's his face Loner Kavanaugh fight when Sebastian was just doing a lot. He was doing too much. He was winning the fight, but he was throwing so much out there that he started to fatigue himself. And he right when he started to slow down, Nakamura started to pressure him back, and then he found the KO. Great fight overall, but damn, this is like one of those fights where it was a hype knockout. It was a nasty knockout of the year so far. But it's just not a good look. It's not a good look. Hopefully Nakamura can patch up some of those holes in his defense, not get pressured as easily, and throw more strikes. And that leads us to our final Road to UFC finale between Kim Sang-wook and Dumar Fan. Oh my goodness, Dumar Fan absolutely beat the brakes off of Kim Sang-wook. I don't know how Kim Sang-wook survived the fight. He was getting touched up, he was getting tagged up, he got head kicked at one point. But this was a masterclass in the clinch. Kim Sang-wook could not really complete too many takedowns, and Dumar Fan was beating the brakes off of him in the clinch. Elbows, knees in the clinch, so many elbows. Every time they broke from the clinch, he found an elbow. This is a fight that I'm going to send to some of the people I know who train a lot and be like, this is how you should work in the clinch. He purposely make sure that almost every exchange ended up in the clinch. He'd put his back to the cage because he knew he'd get the underhook. He'd defend the takedown. He'd grab a single collar and then find an elbow inside. He was landing over elbows, inside elbows, spinning back elbows, all in tight, all in the clinch. Kim Sang-wook is tough for surviving it because Dumar Fan was beating the brakes off of him. Went 1 for 10 on takedowns. Couldn't really get anything established. It is what it is. Dumar Fan, somebody we should really, really, really look for. Also, his name is Street Buddha, which I think is fucking hilarious. Next up, we have Conor Lee versus Yi Jia. This was a brutal robbery. Genuinely disgusting robbery. I actually don't know how this fight could be scored for Conor Lee. Yi even if you give Conor Lee round 1 and round 3, round 2 was so one-sided, so dominant in Yija's favor that it should have been a 10-7, not 10-8, 10-7 round, which means he would have won anyway. I personally gave Yija the first 2 rounds and maybe Conor Lee edged the 3rd round. But even then, round 1 and round 3 were very close, but round 2 was so disgustingly one-sided. You cannot give this fight to Conor Lee. I don't understand how 2 judges scored that 2nd round a 10-9 for Yija. But they did. But round 1, Off Lee starts very, very fast, aggressive, showing that, he's the UFC vet. You're not going to come in here and push me around. Rocks Yija bad. And as he's moving in to try to follow up, Yija cracks him with a short left hook and drops him bad. Conor Lee gets back up. They go tit for tat. And damn near even on strikes. It can go either way. I gave to Yija because he hurt Conor Lee worse than Conor Lee hurt Yija. Round 2 starts. Yija, immediately in round 2, finds a knockdown shot. Has Conor Lee on his back. Can't get back up. Conor Lee finally finds his way back to his feet. And I shit you not, he gets dropped 3 more times that round. There's one point in that round where Yija had literally quintupled him on strikes. It was not a good round. I don't know how Conor Lee survived that round, but it was a good round nonetheless. Round 3, close, back and forth round. Conor Lee landed some really, really good low kicks that seemed to have immediate visible effects on Yija, but Yija got 2 or 3 takedowns. Didn't do much with him, but he definitely got the takedowns in what was close striking exchanges. I don't even mind Conor Lee getting round 3 because of how impactful those leg kicks were. It wasn't just one, it was 3 of them, where he'd land the leg kick and it literally make Yija, it'd break his stance, his posture, all of it, and he'd visibly wince to it. I don't even mind giving Conor Lee round 3. The first 2 is questionable. Especially, the first 2 is questionable. And round 2 should have been a 10-7 round. I'm going to make a separate video breaking that round down, but quite literally, I'm not making this up. He dropped him 3 times and didn't get hit back in response. Wobbled him a few more times. It was not a close round. It should have been a 10-7. If Chimaev versus John Phillips round 1 can be a 10-7, if round 4 of Josh Emmett versus Ilya Topuria can be a 10-7, then absolutely that should have been a 10-7. Next up on the card, starting the preliminary card, we have Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. Micallef gets the submission in the 2nd round by rear naked choke, choking Oban Elliott completely out cold. But Oban Elliott was getting touched. Was touching up Jonathan Micallef. That's what I meant to say. Oban Elliott was not getting hit very much at all. Nothing too hard, nothing too crazy. Jonathan Micallef was overthrowing himself. Oban Elliott was looking slick. Oban Elliott rocked Jonathan Micallef bad in round 2, starts getting too over aggressive, clinched up with him. Jonathan Micallef reverses the clinch, takes him down, takes his back, strangles him out cold. Beautiful performance from Micallef in round 2. And Oban Elliott's really, really good. I think he deserves a bounce back fight of Charleston Harris or Jeremiah Wells. That'd be a fun fight. Next up at middleweight, we have Jacob Malkoun versus Torres Finney. Now, before I break this fight down, I have to also say, Torres Finney, something went weird with his knee. It was either his knee or his calf. You could see the moment his knee, kind of exploded on him, and he had to fight the back 2.5 rounds of the fight on one leg. And right when he was starting to build into the fight, I don't want to take too much away from Jacob Malkoun's performance because his boxing was sharp, it was on point, the jab was there. There was a moment in round 2 where he faked the left hook, stepped through with a right hand, landed clean on Torres, dropped him, but Torres is a tough dude who's hard to put away, and I hope it's not a situation where he's too athletic for his own good, because it you could hear like the moment it felt like his leg snapped. You could hear him wince out in pain when that happened. It was just not a good look. Surprisingly, Torres survived to a decision, but it's not what you want to see. You know, if you're gonna beat somebody, you want to see you beat them at like their full strength, not hobbling around on one leg. Next up, we had Cam Roston versus Cody Brundage. This was a fun fight. Round one, Cody Brundage goes out there. He's getting touched up. He's getting tagged. And then he drops Cam Roston bad. I looked away from the screen, looked back at the screen. Roston is getting his chin turned around. He's on his hands and knees looking around like, what the fuck hit me? He survived that situation, and Brundage is good in moments. He's not good consistently. And Roston was just touching him up and eventually got the KO. And it wasn't even like a strong KO. It was just he manhandled Brundage around and Brundage had nowhere to go. Brundage was defending well, but there was nowhere for him to go. Easy TKO from Cam Roston with a little bit of adversity. Next up at light heavyweight, we have Billy Alicata versus Junior Tafa. Round one starts, Billy Alicata is immediately on the pressure. He's backing Tafa up. Tafa is biding his time, looking for a shot. He finds this overhand right over the jab of Billy Alicata. Billy Alicata threw a lazy jab. Tafa immediately punished with an overhand right. Folded Billy Alicata in half. I don't know how he survived that. Alicata survives it, gets back to his feet, and they start scrapping it out. Alicata starting to out technically strike Junior Tafa, which is weird because Tafa used to be like a top 5 kickboxer in glory, but Billy Alicata genuinely like was out technically striking him, was wobbling him, was hurting him with a stiff jab. Round two starts, Tafa starts to slow down a bit. Billy Alicata still throwing, hitting him with the jab, hitting him to the body, hitting him to the legs, backing him up. Eventually gets his takedown, and the moment he got his takedown, the fight was over. Gets the back, locks it up, locks up the rear naked choke. Immediate tap. Easy win. Now, unfortunately, Quinlan Southfield versus Rong Zhu was canceled. I was looking very forward to that fight, as well as Jimmy Crute versus Dustin Jacoby. So on the main card, we had Quinlan Southfield versus Jamie Mullarkey. And Quinlan Southfield wins with an easy submission. You know, they were scrapping a little bit on the feet, but Quinlan Southfield got pushed up against the fence. He reversed that position. He threw Jamie Mullarkey over him, and then he just took his back and subbed him easily. Easy submission. Easy work from Quinlan Southfield. Moving on up, we have Towson Teixeira versus Tai Tuivasa. Cut both of these guys. Actual terrorist fight to watch. Tai Tuivasa, as we come to expect, had about a round and a half of cardio in him. Towson Teixeira had about half a round of cardio in him. Tuivasa didn't know how to sprawl a takedown until round 3 and genuinely gave the fight away. Towson Teixeira's defense is actually horrendous, but he can drop back on his wrestling. And he used his wrestling to just out-grapple Tai Tuivasa in round 1 and 2 and survive round 3 while being dead. I never want to talk about this fight again. The shit was disgusting to watch. Both of them should be cut. I don't understand why anyone... I am not a fan of Tai Tuivasa. I don't think I really ever have been. I always thought the gimmick of drinking beer out of a shoe was fucking gross. And I've always hated how disgustingly out of shape he was. I don't mind there being a fat guy at heavyweight, but have 3-round cardio. He never does. Just never does. And is technically just always bad. It's just unfun to watch. And I hate how we gotta say, oh man, now he's motivated. You're a professional athlete. You should always be motivated. What do you mean weighed 330 pounds at the start of camp. What do you mean you had to a rough weight cut down to 265 pounds? Take your career seriously or get the fuck on. And Talisha Teixeira, like, nothing's changed from the Derek Lewis fight. What have you been doing? You did nothing in the gym in the months since Derek Lewis knocked you out. You've done nothing. No growth in the gym whatsoever. Because his defense is just as bad as it was in his Contender Series fight, just as bad as it was in his debut, just as bad as it was against Derek Lewis, and Tai Tuivasa just was a little too tired to finish it off. Actually, like, a gross fight to watch, but now we got Talisha Teixeira probably entering the top 10. We're getting very close. Gross fight at heavyweight. I'm so glad we have guys like Mario Pinto on the rise. Because I fucking hate heavyweight. Now, next up, we had Mauricio Huffy versus Rafael Fiziev. This fight starts round one. Fiziev's cooking Huffy. Body kicks are landing. Leg kicks are landing. Body punches are landing. He's going up top of overhand rights and whiffing just barely. Lands a few of them. But then, like, halfway through round one, Huffy made his reads. All of a sudden, Fiziev can't find that target. I told you, this is a dude who low-key got outstruck by Bobby Green. Huffy's about to do him dirty. Huffy found his range, found the target. Fiziev was whiffing massive leg kicks. Couldn't really land anything with the body kicks. Couldn't really get anything going with the head. Couldn't cut him off properly. Mauricio Huffy was back to the fence, moving through, and just picking his spots, picking his moments to go. Started picking up at the end of round one. Round two starts. His jab is going crazy. He's finding the target. He's putting together good shit. Step in knees to the body kicks, leg kicks. He's starting to get to Fiziev, and then he snipes him with this long range right hand straight through the guard of Fiziev, spins him around, literally like walked him up and down the octagon while he had him rocked, and eventually Herb Dean stepped in and called it off. Next up in the co-main event, we had Benoit Saint-Denis versus Dan Hooker. Benoit was getting genuinely fucked up on the feet. Like, I had to hold that F in for a minute because Dan Hooker was landing everything. Knees up the middle, body kicks, body punches, elbows. Benoit was trying to get takedowns. Hooker would throw in a guillotine and use that to scramble. And he did that a couple times, but at the end of round one, Benoit got a takedown and started beating Dan Hooker's face into the ground. Round two starts. Benoit finally gets another takedown. Hooker can't get out, and Benoit beats his face in. He tries to sub him a couple times, misses up, couldn't finish the arm triangle like 2 or 3 times, and then just starts bashing Dan Hooker's face in until the ref had to step in and call the fight off. And in the main event, we had Alexander Volkanovski defend his featherweight title against Diego Lopez. Dog, this was such a one-sided fight. This was worse than the last fight. At least in the last fight, Diego Lopez had a lot of success. There was no real success. This was more the same, except Volk didn't take anywhere near as much damage. Volk damn near doubled him every round, landed way more significant strikes, rocked him badly 2 or 3 times, pulled a guillotine on him. That happened in round 2. Diego Lopez was in on a takedown and Volk actually pulled a guillotine. It was weird, but Volk was in complete and total control, never really had to leave first gear, and was walking him into massive overhand rights that would have knocked out damn near any other featherweight on the roster. Volkanovski's also not retiring, thank God, and I think this is his division to rule over for as long as he wants. He's probably gonna fight the winner of Mavzar versus Lerone Murphy in July or August. He might come back for like one more at the end of the year. I know, like, he has there's nobody outside of maybe Gene Silva who actually stands a shot against Volkanovski. He's vintage performance. Like, if Lerone Murphy got hit with the shit that Diego Lopez got hit with tonight, Lerone Murphy's out cold. Evloev is out cold. I don't know if Silva can survive that kind of shit. He might get slept out cold. Like, genuinely, Volkanovski turned back the clock. 37 years old, looking like he's 33. He really is still fast, still powerful, feints on display, constant stand switching. Diego Lopez couldn't cut off the cage, and Volk was doing him dirty. But that was my recap for UFC 325. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys another day.